Hello guys, here we are back at the bench, part 14 now of the build of this A-20G from HK Models. Lovely kit it's turning out to be as well. That's it there. If you haven't seen it in the shops yet, go get yourself one. The JK is on its way as well. So after the fiasco that was part 13 with the messing around with these bullets and everything, I have some good news. I've been in touch with Neil at Hong Kong Models, and he is going to make different wheels. You know, I had problems with the wheels because of the pitch, and I've calculated everything. I've said to him, basically, if you make them to this spec, they're going to be a lot better for people who want to use these belts, and indeed probably any other belts. If they're all made to the same scale, then and lo and behold, I looked at the actual real thing, and it's got the number of teeth that I've told him. So there we go. So that's going to be much easier and better for you when you come to fit these bullets. You can see here when you look close up, there is a bit of misalignment on some of them, and I may actually try and pull some around a bit, but you can see that the pitch is too big, so it's sort of pulling the back of the rounds apart. What I may actually do is just leave this for now until he's made the new ones, and then fit the new ones once he's made them. But we shall see. I mean, it's just going on and on and on, this, isn't it? But at the end of the day, we don't have to put the turret in, I don't believe. No, the turret goes in afterwards, so if I don't glue the top onto the turret, I could change those over at any time. So anyway, moving on, I've decided, although I asked you the question, a lot of you said leave it empty. I've decided I'm going to do it as per the book, because, you know, we've got the guns rounds loaded, so if they're loaded, then it's either just come back from a mission or just about to go out on a mission. So let's have it as though it's just about to go out on a mission. So we'll have the bombs in there, and for accuracy as well, because it's an A-20G Block 25, I'm going to actually fit those panels as well. So a lot of this photo etch is going to disappear, but it's sort of going to tease you to make you want to look at it, isn't it? And at the end of the day, I was thinking, who's ever going to look at it? No one is the answer, because when this is done, it will go on a shelf, and eventually it'll probably go in the bin. But yeah, basically, no one's ever going to look at it. So, and I think we've got all these lovely improvements on the bottom here. So I think that's going to help greatly anyway. The other thing of note, if you are going to fit the bombs, these bulkheads here, they have to go in with this little notch at the bottom, facing forward and aft. Depending if the forward one will face forward, the aft one will face aft, because they're going to pick up on these little tabs on here. And the trouble is, there's ejector pin marks in this side. This side is fine, which is invisible when it's behind, when it's in there, because you've got that like that, and then you've got the shelf in there. So that's going to be invisible. In fact, I've just remembered I need to make this fit, don't I? Because with the photo etch in there, it doesn't want to fit. So we're going to have to narrow this down on the ends. So that's basically going to go in there like that. Get those holes lined up. Yeah, it doesn't want to go in because that photo etch. Oh, it does. And then this is going to go in here like this. And then you see this bomb hanger is going to, that bracket, that thing is going to go into there, like you can see there. So remove those ejector pin marks, or cut the recess in the other side. Pays your money, takes your choice. You're not going to see much of it anyway, because when you look up, you're not going to see that bulkhead, I don't think. But just in case, I remove them anyway. It's only you. But they're all raised, which is good, so just sand them all off. So that's a good thing. Now, I am just going to narrow the ends of this down a touch, just to help it go in a bit. There we go, a bit of the sprue dib left on there as well. So there we are. So they're going to get primed again as well. So being that I'm going to do all that, I need to get all this painted black so that everything is the same. There's somebody on YouTube who thinks anybody that primes everything black is a complete idiot. The reason I prime black is exactly for the reason this same guy says he never does black basing. So I like to have black as a shadow, so that if you get any missed bits, black always looks good rather than grey or brown or whatever you're going to use. and it certainly looks better than the grey plastic. So I like to have everything black, and then you can work on top of that and bring it out. You can see here on this on the back of the wheel bay, you know, I've got, you can see the black through it in shadow form, and it gives you that sort of good three-dimensional look. If it was all just painted green, it would look like it's just painted green, and what we're doing is using artistic value to make it look like it's got depth, it's been used, it's got ingrained dirt in it, you know, because obviously they wouldn't have let it get absolutely filthy, but they wouldn't have got in there with brushes and brushed out all the corners of all the brackets and that. It would have got ground in, especially if they were wiping it over. They'd be pushing the dirt into the corners. Anyway, enough about that. So we need to get on and assemble these bomb racks. I'm not going to put the bombs in yet, but obviously these get sandwiched, so they're going to have to go in when the Bombay is assembled. So I'm going to put in these brackets here that go across, and we'll put in the sway braces as well. Now, you need to have a careful look at the instructions here, because you can see on there there's a tab, and on there there's nothing. When you look at the actual parts, you can see there's nothing, and on the back here there's a rib. So make sure you get these the right way round, because you can see there it's plain around the tab, and there you've got the ribs to line up. Now I'm also noticing that I'm having to pull it right over to one side to get the pattern to line up. So what I'm going to do here is just shave some plastic off this pin. This HK plastic is hard, which is great for stuff like this because it doesn't just all mash up and fall apart when you try and cut it. So that's going that way. So we'll drop that in there, and as you can see now, I can manipulate it now to where I want it to get it to line up. So I'll do the same on this one. Just check we're going the right way. Yep, I need to take plastic from that side and there to allow me to get that over. Right, just like so. So we can put those together, grab our extra thin, and put some in the ends first, get that all nicely lined up. I think we're going to have to do some seam sanding here. That's a shame. We lined this side up, look. Okay, get those ribs lined up, and then on this side we've got a mismatch, so I'll leave the mismatch on this side. And there we go. In fact, what I'll do is I'll share the mismatch. There we are. So I'll get the other one glued together, then I'll be straight back. Okay, so they're glued together now. Now, I would say deal with these seams first before you glue these on, but the trouble is once you glue these sway braces on, you've got another seam to deal with, so you may as well do it all at the same time and just be careful not to obliterate that detail on there. Now, on these sway braces, there is one side which has a little ejector pin mark in it, which is hardly visible, and the other side is nice and clean. So when we glue them on, we'll make sure the ejector pin mark is facing inwards, and then it won't be seen. So we can just drop that on there like that, put that in place, and then drop a cement into there. And there we are, that's that one in. Now do the same on the other side, make sure the ejector pin mark is facing in. Drop of cement, plenty of cement in there, get them good and strong because we're going to have the bombs hanging off them. We don't want them falling off over time, do we? So do the same with the others, and then wait for them to dry and we can deal with those seams. Right, so we've had all night to get these sanded. I filled them with super glue, sanded them down, and as you can see now they're sort of pretty much seamless. I haven't gone to town because once the bombs are in, you're not really going to see much of it anyway, but good to get rid of the seams. So what we're going to do now is paint all this green all ready to go together. Now what you could do if you want to is build the whole thing and paint it green. I'm going to do it individually because I want to do some artistic license and highlight things. There's two ways of doing this. What you could do is come along with a white or a yellow sort of colour and go in here in these areas where you want it to be bright, and then spray it with your green, just very, you know, highly thin, go over the top, and then what will happen is the black will show through in the recesses and the brightness will show through from the white paint underneath. What I'm going to do to get this kind of effect here that you can see, as I showed you earlier, in that you must remember, guys, when you watch these videos, I can hardly see that in reality, but on the camera it really does look like up the sides here, for sort of an 8mm wide band, there's this great big sort of bright green shape, and in reality it's hardly there at all. It's just a bit of highlighting, but you can see like this side here is just painted green. Okay, no highlighting, no nothing. So there it is, green with a black primer underneath, and there it is highlighted. And as you can see, it just makes things look a bit better. And what I've done, this is my mix of the US interior green, and I've got this piece of card that I did before. So that was what I originally did, which was a bit dark, and then I changed it, so this is what we've got now, is that colour there. This is the AK Real Colours interior green, which I think is a little bit too bright. Possibly for a smaller scale that would look like, on that B25 I've got, in the areas where that's got to be green, the 1/48 scale, I think it would look great. I think it's a little bit too bright for this one. I don't want it to look almost like, you know, our RAF interior green, which is almost that colour. So you can see I've got a splodge there next to it of, this is what I did. I made this mix first of all, and then I lightened it. So that's this mix, and that's this mix next to the H58. So you can see the H58 is pretty much the same. I'm really annoyed actually, because one of the things I wanted to get if I went to Telford was a couple of bottles of H58 interior green, and I completely forgot because I was so gobsmacked by the absolutely wonderful reception you guys gave me there. You know, I was blown away. If you haven't seen my video, you'll know I came away with a carrier bag absolutely rammed full of kits, aftermarket, magazines, books, everything you could dream of, and I didn't spend a penny. I was given all of it, so thank you very much. Met some lovely people as well. It was absolutely amazing. I was absolutely thoroughly blown away by the reception. I could not believe it. I've never felt so popular in all my life. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to spray it with this green and get a nice coverage of green on there, and then I think we'll come in with some highlighting with this, and then we'll possibly even do some dry brushing with a sort of even lighter green. And I've also got this filter here, which is great, this green filter, and we'll see how that looks. That works really well with RAF interior green. You know, if you don't want to give it like a black or a brown wash or something, and that will actually get into all these nooks and crannies and sort of just you'll see, and I think it'll look quite good. So obviously we've got all the parts of the Bombay here on our stalks, so we're going to use all that, get all them painted green and go from there. The other thing I noticed, I don't know if you can see it on here, this photo etch, I have never seen anything like that before. Look how it's kind of wrinkled up, and I really don't know why. I don't know. I mean, I know I was sort of shoving it about, maybe because I was pulling it about to get it central. Maybe I've pulled it and the glue down here had cured and it hadn't cured up there, so it's sort of, I don't know, but if you look, it's only on the lower section of it. It's got this sort of 10mm tall band of distortion. It actually looks quite good if you want to depict a sort of, you know, a stretched panel or whatever, but it's absolutely amazing. I've never seen anything like that before, so didn't really notice it till I got the primer on there. But yeah, very strange. Look at it, really strange. But glad it's up in the Bombay, not on the surface of the model. So anyway, I'm going to get some green paint down, and then I'll come back. Obviously I'm going to get this done because there's a lot of painting to do. I'll get this done in the booth with the extractor on, and then I'll come back and we'll see what it's all like once it's dried. And there we go. Just remember, as I say, the camera really does make this look a lot more defined than it actually is. it's really picking up. The other thing that's making it look a lot more refined, I've given it a coat of LP24. I must make a video about clear coats actually, because lately I've been getting a lot of questions about clear coats. You guys seem to be really struggling, and it just seems like everybody's struggling with clear coats at the moment. I don't know why. Maybe it changed the formulation or something, I don't know. But anyway, so as you can see there, you can see the highlighting, and all I've done is sort of in the panel. You can see that, you can see here, it's like there's a light green area there. There's also lots of dust and flecks and stuff in it. I don't know. I hate to say this. In fact, I'm not going to say it. It was going to be about Jess and hairs, and yeah. But basically, yeah, it's all done, and you can see it's all highlighted. You know, wherever there's a little panel, just going over the lighter green, and it's just a tad lighter. But take the air pressure down to about 15 psi, thin the paint down to about 80% thinners, and just fill in between, and it leaves. You can see when you look across it like that, it just makes it a lot more interesting to look at than just being green. In reality, would it be like that? Probably not. If you stood in the Bombay and looked at it, would it look like that? Probably not. But on a model, you get that effect, and it gives it some depth, okay, rather than just being all green. It's artistic license is what it is. Some people don't like it, some people love it, some people go over the top with it. You know, like some people go mad with their pre-shading and their models look like a checkerboard. Some people do it so subtly that it kind of doesn't really make any difference. But in reality, when you look at things in real life, they rarely are how we model them. So you can see the same on the roof panel there. Just, you know, light green in all the flat areas just to make the rest of it pop up. Now, something you'll notice on here in areas, the photo etch you can see here, if you can make that out, but the photo etch is sort of, it needs to be glued down really, because it's not glued down in that area. But because we're only ever going to see it like that, because it's the roof of the Bombay, I'm not worried about it. I'd rather not make a mess of glue than just leave it like that. But I'm going to have to go in with a fiberglass pencil, I think, and just remove some of these bits of dust and that they're in there. They look terrible. So I may even have to bloody paint it all again after I've done that. We shall see. But basically, these corrugated fuel tank floors, what I've done there, I've sprayed them with the green, and then with the lighter green, what I've done is come over and come in like a sort of 20-degree angle to it, and just sprayed across the top, and then just to pick up so it stays dark green down in between. So that's looking good. You can see it on this bulkhead here. I've done it. We've got the light green in the areas in between the panels and stuff. The same on that side. We've already seen that side. That's the back of the undercarriage bay, isn't it? So so there we go. You can see it on there as well. The lighter green. And obviously, now the clear coat, the reason that's there, there's the Bombays there, or the bomb racks, should I say. The reason the clear coat is there is when we start to add washes, dry brushing, filters, whatever, it will sit on the surface and give us the effect. Because this is mainly Tamiya matte paint, it's very, very porous. So if I put a black wash all over this and then try to mop it up, the whole thing would get darkened. If you put the clear coat on there first, it gives you a barrier, so you can mop it up. And because it's LP24, it's hard as nails, it's lacquer based, nothing really is going to affect it. So we can do that. So I'm going to leave all this to dry now for a few hours. I might even do some work on my chieftain, we shall see. But I'm going to pick something else up, let that dry before we start doing anything with it. So I'll I'll be back when my throat is cleared and I haven't got a cold anymore, which I think will be 2025. Things are going right. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so that paint's all dry now, so we're going to move along. I've just had a massive clear up on my bench and there's bits everywhere. So I've actually put these bombs together, glued the halves together, and I did that purposely because I want them to dry for at least a week or so before I do the seams. Otherwise the seams will reappear, guys. So that's that. Now the tails, you can see here, they're telling us in the instructions, the bomb tails go together in these two halves like that. And I did actually feel some roughness on them, and on one of them I sanded it off, but I don't know if you can see it on there, but there are tiny little indentations in here, and then there are tiny little pins. Where are they? There's some with indentations and there's some with pins, and it's incredible how small they are. It would appear that everyone I'm picking up here is indentations. There you go, this one's got pins. I don't know if you can see them on there. There are absolutely tiny little pins. So I'm going to grab some extra thin and find the one with the pins and the ones with the recesses. They will actually clip together. It's really clever how it's done, because you know, how else would you do this unless you use photo etch? But it's really good how they go together. I'm just going to put a little drop on there just to tack it in place. Because the camera's on, it's all going wrong. They basically go together and you'll feel them lock. There we go, that's kind of locked together now. It's very nicely done. So it's because the camera's on, it's all going pear shaped, but just now I tried one and it fitted together beautifully and it kind of locked into place. But, there we go. And then what we can do is just grab a bomb and just try it on there, just to make sure. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to get the other three done, and then I'll come back and I'll show you some work I've done on the Bombay. Alright, so that's them all glued together, and you can guess, as you guessed, the camera was off, they were together beautifully. But I think they do make a lovely little assembly, and obviously not as nice as photo etch, but they're a lot easier to put together, and for what you're really going to see of them, I think they're absolutely fine. Now, if you've got the border model Lancaster, you will know that that comes with many bombs. So if you're not using your US bombs in that, you could always use them in this if you wanted to. Failing that, if you have this and the border model Lancaster and you're not using the bombs, the border model Lancaster doesn't come with any of the little impellers that you get on them. And also in this kit you get a bonus, because you get those little impellers in plastic, but you also get them, wait for it, you also get them in PE. So you've got lots of spares there for your border models Lancaster if you're not going to put the bomb load in this. Or you've got your spare bombs if you want to use the border model Lancaster bombs in this. So there you go. So, wrong side. So let's have a look at this Bombay and look at what I've done. So I've painted the sides, and as you can see I've just gone round with some silver and some grey and some of this light tan colour and a light grey in there. And it's just really to make it look a bit interesting. Accuracy, I don't know. I can't find a picture of a wartime Bombay, and as you know, we're not hardly going to see any of it anyway. So there we go. So that's that. And then I've also done, like you can see on here, this bulkhead here is done with the pipe work. We've got the one in the middle with the main actuator for the Bombay doors, and as you can see, that's sort of, it's not moulded on but it's glued on, and it's sort of half cylindrical going into there. And you can see what I've done is used a dark grey down the side to kind of give it a shadow, just to make it look a bit more realistic. Dry brushed in these little bits here, and there's nothing really on the back to speak of. So and in case you're wondering, how did I drill that hole through the photo etch and still keep that plastic pipe in place? Very carefully is the answer to that. I came in from behind and made sure I didn't go right through, so I left that pipe going across that hole. Now, as you can see, some of the paintwork isn't that neat. You can see in there, I mean, we should be able to come in with a cocktail stick and just scratch that away. Because as I say, it's got the LP24 on it, so it's going to be well protected. So any areas where you've got paint that's gone over that you don't really want to see, like in here, I mean, you're never going to see that up in there anyway. but you can just go in and just go with a cocktail stick and remove it like that. So we've also done detail here, and as you can see, again, you've got this pipe going here, and underneath I've put dark grey just to kind of give it a shadow, and that's going to be perfectly adequate. When you see it on here, that's going to be sitting on there like that. That's going to go like that. So that's going to sit on there. So when you're looking up into the Bombay, that's what you're going to see. So you know, I think it works really well. So what I'm going to do now, just like say, a bit more artistic license. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a pin wash, and I hope you're not kind of thinking, oh God, not this again, because the thing is with modelling, when you just do aircraft like I do, it tends to be quite repetitive. So I'm sorry about that, but this is black brown. Okay, so this is, rather than having a harsh black, and I've also got one here which is called Industrial Dirt. These are Modeller's World. They're no longer available from Premium Hobbies as far as I know. I'm not sure where you get them, but they are highly recommended. I think you get them on eBay. They are highly recommended. I absolutely love them. They don't have that normal oils smell to them. They're very nice. So all I'm going to do is just get a little drop on there, and then just drop it in a couple of places on here, and it should capillary around along the edges of those pipes, and it will just make them look as though they are pipes, not just moulded on, you know, D-section pieces of plastic. Okay, it's as simple as that, and I think we'll do these vertical members as well. What we can do as well is just brush it along like so, and then when it's dry it can be removed. And again, this is another reason for using the LP24, the semi-gloss clear, because it'll dry on there hard as nails, seals in that green paint, and also it prevents, as I said before, if I didn't put that on there, this wash would just soak into the green paint because it's matte, and it would just change the whole look of it. Okay, so there we go. You can do it careful like I've done there, or you can just go mad and just brush it everywhere like that. And as you can see, it's kind of given it a, it looks a lot more authentic. Don't worry about the shine, it will dry matte. But it just looks a lot more authentic than just having it green and silver. It gives it some depth. This is, like I say, it's all about artistic license. That's weird how that panel's bent on there. I wish I knew what had happened. I think the glue dried in the bottom before it dried in the top, and when I slid it over, it's kind of, I can't believe that I got the purchase on it and the, you know, managed to make it actually distort like that. I can't believe that. Okay, so we just brush that along those rivet lines there. Just like so. There we are. It's just it's just adding a bit of interest to it. It's just making it look a bit more used, dirty, whatever. I'll just do a bit on here and then I'll do the rest off camera. But you can see I can touch on there, and it just makes everything pop. You get the detail. Now none of this is going to be seen because it's going to be hidden by those floors if I decide to put them in, that is. Get plenty of wash on those. I'm guessing they're fuses. Get some wash over that. Wes was saying that he thought these were lights. I think they're actually loudspeakers. I'm not sure. I think because you've got one behind the pilot seat as well. It looks exactly the same. And it's not a light, it's actually a loudspeaker. Some more of those fuses there, so we get plenty of wash into them. Plenty into there. I mean, you can just, if you want to, you can just do this, just paint the whole thing. An overall covering wash, and then mop it up afterwards. Just do that. or you can, you can do it specifically detailed. Remember, this is photo etch here, so the wash may show up some nasties that you don't want to see. But it all appears to be going quite well. There we go. As you can see, it just makes it look a bit more detailed. It just looks more realistic, doesn't it? Okay, so we'll let that dry, and then I'll show you that I can mop it all up, and it'll look much better. So I'm going to go on and get the rest of it done, and then I'll come back when it's done and show you what it looks like. Okay, as you can see, this is all dry now. So what we can do is, there's two ways of doing this. We can come along with a cotton bud, and we can just rub away and remove the excess. I'll just do this area here just to show you how it looks. You don't want to sit here and watch me endlessly rubbing away like this, do you? Okay, so you can see that you get the effect with that. The other way to do it is to, completely unprepared again, is to take your little palette, get some odourless thinners. Make sure you use odourless thinners, don't use anything else. I'm going to grab one of these little ASK pipettes, which are great because they're smaller than my usual ones, which means I know I've only used them on oils, because you don't want to mix your pipettes up. If you've got some levelling thinners or worse tool cleaner residing in there, and then you go and put it in there, guess what happens when you touch this? Yeah, well, you don't need to guess what happens, you know what's going to happen, don't you? So it'll basically destroy it. So we can come along with a brush, and I'm going to use the same brush as I use for applying the oil. So grab a little piece of paper towel, like so. Okay, I'm going to put the brush in, just remove some of it. I'm just going to check the brush is sort of fairly clean first. Okay, so put the brush in, remove some of it, and then we can just come along, and with the brush we can play around and move the oil about. As you can see, I can sort of shade it. Let's get some more. The reason I mop the brush off is because I don't want it too wet. So you can see that oil's dried on there, and this odourless thinner will, as you can see, I can move it around and sort of shade it and everything. And then if you want to, you can come and remove the excess like so, and you get a sort of softer edge to it. Or you could just use your cotton bud and just remove all of it, just like so. You could also dampen your cotton bud and use that to help you remove the excess wash, and then you get, a very, very sort of light application. Then you've removed a hell of a lot of it, which I think is what I'll probably do on the whole thing, because that's what I want. I don't want a mega washed area. Now unfortunately, what I've done, I've used Vallejo paint on here to do the silver, and as you can see, this is taking it off. So I should have sealed it in before I did this. The trouble is, you keep putting sealers on, you lose all your detail. So we'll have to be careful around the silver parts if we're using the odourless thinners. And I can tell you as well, I know from experience, the Mr. Colour or the Mr. Hobby, these Mr. Metal colours, they are also affected by odourless thinners, so be careful, you have been warned. Obviously we've got no silver paint down here, so it's not going to hurt. Just to rub it all away. And here we'll just keep rubbing along the line of the rivets, and that will actually make the oil stay in around the rivets then. Alright, so there you can see the sort of effect we're after. I'm going to have to repaint that silver there because that looks terrible, but not to worry. And then the same here on the Bombay roof. Just gently rub the excess away, and like in reality those corrugations in there, that's where it opens from the top. They would never in reality be that dirty, so you know, it's just artistic license. It's just to make it stand out. It's the same as pre-shading. It's not actually accurate per se, but it's just an effect that we like to see. Some can't stand it, some absolutely hate it, and that's absolutely fine, but most people use the pre-shading technique. And there we go. The other problem with this is you can see the cotton bud falls apart and you end up with bits of fluff everywhere that you can't really see, and then once you put a clear coat on, if you're going to put a clear coat on, then you'll see them. You count your bottom dollar, you'll see them then when you can't get them off. So as you can see, we can just rub over that, just remove the excess, and that'll leave behind. You can see the difference between here and here. You can see here it's brushed on, you've got all the excess, and here all we've done is left some detail behind. So it gives it a kind of dirty look, but it also just adds to the, because at the end of the day we're going to be looking up in here. So as you can see, it's kind of adding to the, it's making the detail pop out, which is what we want to do. That's the whole purpose of the exercise. Okay, so I'm going to go on and do the rest. I've got it everywhere. I've got it on this panel here. We've got lots to do, so I'm going to go and listen to some music and get the rest of this done, and then I'll be back when it's done and I'll show you how it looks. And here we are, finally, after all that work, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of work, we've finally ready to put the Bombay together. So I'm going to try and literally clip it together so that we don't have to put any glue on it yet. So we'll see what happens. So basically what we're going to do now is assemble all of this lot, and we're going to see how it looks. We're not going to put the bombs in yet, but we're going to see how it looks. So I'm going to try and see if I can clip this together. So that bit's going to go in there. That bit's going to go in there. So now you can see these are the floors. These are the floors for the fuel tanks. And as you can see, they're hiding a lot of detail. So this bulkhead here in the middle is going to go in, and this cylinder, the actuator cylinder for the bomb doors, is going to face forward. So that's just going to clip in there. We damaged the upper hole when we were grinding out for the Edwards stuff, so we don't expect a very solid fit, but basically that's in there. Then we've got our two Bombay, must make sure, bomb holders, sorry, this lug here, there's a lug on that side, that's got to face backwards on the front and forwards on the rear. Okay, so that's just going to sit in there like that. I don't know why that one is so sloppy, it's because I haven't pushed it in, that's why. Okay, and then these here, these walls are going to go into these holes on the top, and those bottom little cutouts are going to sit on that peg that's in the actual, on the bomb rack. So that's going to be a little troublesome, I think, but we'll see how it goes. I literally just want to dry fit this together to see what we're going to do with regard to how much we're going to put in or leave out or whatever. The only detail we're actually not going to be able to see with those floors is that area there, which is not really much to write home about. So now we can fit this other side, and I know this is probably not very interesting for you to watch because I'm literally trying to see myself what I'm actually doing here. It's easier said than done. I'm dropping it on the floor. I'm going to put it together off camera because it's no fun to watch whatsoever, and then we'll see how it looks when it's done. Alright, so we've got the cockpit together here, and as you can see, it's very green. It's also very dark. I am going to leave it like this because it is accurate for the aircraft, and at the end of the day, yes, it's blocking off seeing some of those lovely Edward vertical members, but it's also sort of hiding a lot of what's missing from the sidewalls. So I am going to do it like this, but as you can see, it's very, very dark. It's you know, we've got all the lovely pre-shading effects and the washes on there and everything. You can see along here, it all looks great, but we need to sort of make it pop a bit. So what I'm going to do is give it a dry brush. So what we can do now is take it all apart again. Put a bit of masking tape on the side of the bench. We'll take it all apart, and what we're going to do is give it a dry brush. Now, for doing dry brushing, you can dry brush with acrylic paints. In fact, there is an acrylic paint which I will show you now that is purposely designed for dry brushing, and I'm not sure if it's a gimmick or the formula or whatever, but I can tell you I've tried it and it's absolutely bloody brilliant. So let's pull these apart. There we go. So all of that can come out. There we go. We got all our Bombay parts, and that was why I wanted to clip it all together so I could have a look. This paint here, I'll get it out. I'll show you. This is the white one, and this is called Diode Dry Brush paint from Ammo, and it does work really, really well. It's quite a thick paint, as you can see. And you use it the same as you would normally dry brushing, but it does work very, very well. But unfortunately, Ammo sent me a load of stuff, which was very nice of them. But unfortunately, I don't have the right colour. I've got white and I've got a light blue, which is a bit too much. So I'm going to use this. And this, I like to use enamels when I'm dry brushing, enamels or oils. So this is Matte 90, which is called Matte Beige Green. It's like a sky colour. I have previously stirred it, as you can see, because this paint is probably older than most of you. It's going to give the brush a good soaking in the paint. It's probably, I don't know, 25 years old, maybe even 40 years old. So I'm just going to test it first on here just to check. What we want to do, we want to make sure the brush, this is an area that's not going to be seen, and we want to make sure that it's not too heavy, and that when we start dry brushing it's going to look too garish. So what I'm going to do is very gently just stroke over here, and this will, it's very, very subtly, I don't know if you can see the difference between those two, but there is a very subtle difference, and it will just literally just pick up on the edges. Okay, and we go around the whole thing. I mean, this area up here isn't going to be really seen, so we can check again there, and we can see that the dry brushing is actually doing exactly what I want it to do. It's just highlighting areas. It'll pick up on the rivets and stuff like that. Of course, those rivets on that side are recessed, aren't they? But it'll pick up lovely on the edges of these ribs. It's probably not the best brush for dry brushing, to be honest. But hopefully you can see, you get the idea. It just basically brings it out. So we'll put the bits up there that we've already done so that we don't go doing anything twice. I'm going to change the brush. What have I got over here? That's really knackered. Let me get a new, this one will be quite good. This is also a Humbrol brush. So just going to get some paint on. Just get most of it off. Again, we can check. So you can see we've got too much on there. So we can just let me just very gently brush over here. As you can see, what it's doing, it's picking up on the edges. It's probably a bit too heavy, but it doesn't matter because that's an area where it's not going to be seen. So again, on these, on the insides, they're not going to be seen. We could just pick up. You can see there it's picking up on the edges of the panel as well, which is going to look pretty good. People often ask me about the order you do it in. I generally dry brush last. The only risk of dry brushing last is if you don't like what you've seen and you want to take it off, you're likely to take off your washes and everything as well, so you're probably going to have to do it all again. The downside of a dry brushing first, I find, is if you're using a light colour like this and then you go in with a darker wash, the darker wash will stain the dry brushing, so you kind of lose the, what's the word, I mean, you could use the word garishness. As you can see on here now, we've got, basically, you've got the green, you can see the where I've pre-shaded it with the light colour in between, and then you've got the wash, which is the dark, and then we've got the light on top. You can see it's really sort of starting to take shape. It's looking interesting, and that's what we want to do. And do the same on here. Now remember, this is the roof, so it's right up in there. This is the deepest part of the Bombay, so we can really go to town on this. So we'll get some more paint on the brush. Make sure we get most of it off. I'm just going to check on here that it's not too crazy. And as I say, because this is the top, this is in the deepest depths of the Bombay, then it doesn't really matter if we go a bit OTT on this, because it will sort of become more subtle when you see it in the Bombay because it's further away. Now if you're lighting your model, obviously that's not going to be the case. But if you want this detail to sort of stick up and stand out. Okay, so I mean, I'm sure you've all seen dry brushing before, but just in case, I'm just showing you. And as I say, my tips are use enamel paints, don't use acrylics. The reason for that is acrylics tend to dry very fast and they sort of dry out on the brush, and they can be quite pigmenty, so they can be quite grainy, and they just rub off afterwards because they haven't stuck because they've dried so fast. Whereas this will be very tough. So you can see it on there, you can definitely see on there now the difference. And as I say, it's not strictly visually accurate, but it's more pleasing to the eye, and it's making all that lovely detail pop. So I'm going to carry on. Just going to check. Yeah, we're okay. So I'm going to carry on. And then we'll come back and see what it looks like when it's all assembled again, and you should be able to see that there will be quite a difference. When we put it all together, all this detail will pop. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. Alright, so now you'll see the difference, and when you look up in there, you can see that everything now, it's just popping because the edges are all picked up with that light green colour. So there we go. So that's how to make your deep things pop, if you want to make your deep things pop. As far as all this goes at the front, if you remember, we did all the work here on the cockpit. We did all this work on these parts here. Well, that's basically going to sit in there, and you can see just how much. If I get it right, hang on, let me hold this. Remember, I added wires and everything to it because I thought it was all going to be visible. Well, if I hold it like this, like so, that's your front wheel bay there. So that's going to go like that, that's going to go like that. So you can see up in there, you can hardly see any of it. So, but it's in there, it's nice, you know it's there. We've got photographs, you've seen me build it, it's all part of the fun. And if HK Models had left that detail out, we'd all be going, why did they leave that detail out? So me especially, I'd be going, why did they leave that detail out? So there we are. Right, so moving forward, I'm going to leave the Bombay like this, taped together, and we're going to call that done. The reason I'm leaving it taped together is because if we have issues with the fuselage going together, and I don't think for a minute we will, it's better to have it take apartable so we can shave these bulkheads, perhaps remove some material from these tabs, make it all sit a bit narrower. You never know what we might come into. So, but it fits together so well, and it doesn't. You could probably put it in the model like that. It doesn't really need gluing. And also when it comes to working on this top piece, it will be easier to work on it like that than it will as part of the Bombay, because we've got some detail to add on there. And I am actually considering sculpting and casting a replacement for the raft, because it's a bit square and two-dimensional in the kit. But if you're having the top down, it doesn't really matter. So anyway, there we go, and you can see there how it's all going to look when you've got the top of your fuselage open. That's how it's all going to look. So right, I think we'll call that a day, and that has been part 14, is it? I think part 13 or 14, I can't remember now. Whatever it was, it's one before the next one and one after the last one. So hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. As I say, there's a lot to be learnt with this dry brushing thing, and you know, and as I'm finding with my Chieftain, because I have been working on my Chieftain, weathering is it's not a, I don't think it's a skill as such. I think actually building a beautiful model is a skill, but weathering and painting is more of an art form, which I suppose you could call a skill. But it's knowing what to do and what effect you'll get and how it's going to look when it's dry, and what to put on first, and then knowing that, you know, the following adding this and this is going to give that effect. And I'm really struggling, I must be honest. So any help would be appreciated. If anybody wants to finish that off for me, they're more than welcome to, because I'm struggling. Anyway, no, I'm joking. I will get there, but it has to be finished by the end of this month. Today is the 1st of December. So there we go. One final look at the Bombay, and it all looks great. And you can see when we put the bombs in, I just stick one of these tails on here, you'll be able to see that when we do this, trying to push the tail on further than it's supposed to go, when we put that in there, come on, line up with the holes, you know you want to. It's going to be fun fitting them, isn't it? They are a very tight fit actually, so I probably won't even bother gluing them when it comes to putting them in. But hopefully you'll get the idea. Come on. You can see now that when we put them in, we're not going to see anything at all. So there we go. Right. But it was fun getting there, wasn't it? Eh? I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Look out for the next part. And if you've liked this video, please give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe down there. If you haven't liked the video, give us a thumbs down. Hit the subscribe down there, and if you hit the notification bell, you get notified of my next videos. I tend to put a video out pretty much every day now. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.